Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the 1001 Movies podcast, based on the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. This week, we'll be talking about the 1965 film The Battle of Algiers, directed by Gillo Pontecorvo. Some prints of the Battle of Algiers begin with a title card proclaiming that no footage from newsreels or documentaries was used in the making of the film. This may initially seem superfluous, but after seeing some of the jaw-dropping events in the film involving bombs, crowds, and shaky camera work, the reasons for including the disclaimer seem understandable. With a history of making documentaries before this, it's no wonder that Pontecorvo may have wished to include it. Gillo Pontecorvo was raised in Italy during the 1930s amid the rise of Mussolini and fascism, just like Federico Fellini, the subject of our previous episode. Growing up in a middle-class Jewish family, Pontecorvo remained suppressed throughout his early life, at least until he traveled to France to compete in tennis tournaments, during which time he learned about true democracy. After returning home, he became an active member of the Communist Party and the Youth Resistance. His group's contribution to their effort consisted, among other things, of blaring anonymous propaganda from a gramophone record, a technique used by the nationalists in the Battle of Algiers years later. After the fall of Mussolini, Pontecorvo became a photojournalist, quickly adopting a love working with the camera and with film. His career and life were changed when he saw Roberto Rossellini's film Pisa about the Allied invasion of Europe. Pontecorvo knew instantly that he wanted to make motion pictures, and instantly immersed himself into filmmaking. He was an assistant director, and also played a role, in 1957's The Wide Blue Road, and in 1959 he directed his first feature film, Capo, about a concentration camp. With his personal history of resistance and rebellion, it was really no wonder that Pontecorvo decided to make a film about the Algerian Revolution, and he began work on the Battle of Algiers. The film takes place in the city of Algiers in the days leading up to the ousting of the French occupiers in 1962. The action switches from the Algerian National Liberation Front, or FLN, whose members try to scare the French out of the country, bombing cafes and bars while pinned underneath a proverbial iron thumb, and the French military, who hold the FLN in contempt for their terrorist actions and do their best to emasculate the citizens of the predominantly Muslim Kasbah district. Although the film has neither a protagonist nor an antagonist, these roles can arguably be filled by Ali, the FLN's newest recruit, and Colonel Mathieu, the military's tenacious leader. The film is bookended with Ali's capture by Mathieu, which is resolved in the final moments of the film. To prepare for filming, Pontecorvo and screenwriter Franco Salinas interviewed the denizens of Algiers. The war, after all, had just occurred a few years before, and the events of those days were fresh in their memories. Pontecorvo enlisted a cast of almost all non-actors, save for the small handful of actors that played the leads. There were rumors that Paul Newman was initially cast as a journalist in the forefront of the action, but this idea was likely quashed early on. The film was shot in black and white and in documentary style in and around the streets of Algiers, which undoubtedly prompted the filmmakers to preempt the film with the aforementioned title, alleging no news footage was used. Pontecorvo never dreamed that the film would be a success. He thought it would be perceived as an art film and viewed only by critics and intellectuals. But the Battle of Algiers reflected the tumult of the Vietnam War so well that the film became popular in America. It also went on to be nominated for 3 Academy Awards, Best Director, Best Writing, and Best Foreign Film, and won the coveted Golden Lion Award at the Venice Film Festival. Pontecorvo almost courted Hollywood in 1969 with Burn, about a slave uprising in Jamaica. This film starred Marlon Brando in the lead role, and it was the first and last time Pontecorvo would work with a Hollywood actor. Brando was withdrawn on set and outwardly voiced his dislike of working with non-professional actors. Pontecorvo made one more feature film, Ogro, in 1979, before going back to making documentaries and eventually commercials. No one knows why he didn't continue making feature films, but those close to him believe that his self-doubt, coupled with his perfectionism, made terrible bedfellows, resulting in a number of proposed projects never seeing the light of day. Pontecorvo died in 2006 at the age of 86 in Rome. What did I think of the Battle of Algiers? Wow. Just wow. It's fitting that this film was popular upon its release because of Vietnam, and it's even more topical now. Much of the film is a dirty, violent chess match between the FLN and the French. The FLN arranged for assassination of a policeman, then a French bureaucrat retaliates by planting a bomb in a Muslim tenement, and this in turn is avenged by planting bombs that kill innocent French citizens. For the most part, the film takes no sides. War is a terrible, violent thing, and is felt equally on both sides, and each side always considers themselves the good guy in the story. Pontecorvo later said in an interview that he wanted to present the French and the FLN on equal footing, but given that the film was partially financed by the Algerian government and Pontecorvo's own personal background and beliefs, it's not surprising that he paints part of the picture in favor of the FLN. There is a moment in this film that is unforgettable and so believable that it stands out as the best scene. 3 Muslim women, having cut their hair and donned secular garb, walk through the French checkpoints to plant bombs in a cafe, a bar, and an airport. As one of the women enters the cafe, a man gives her his seat. She places her bag with the bomb in it at her feet. It will explode in minutes. She looks at the cafe's clientele. People are drinking, laughing, and enjoying themselves. She knows that these are the last moments of their lives. For a moment, we think that her will is going to break and she'll leave without accomplishing her grisly mission, but she resolutely walks out of the cafe, leaving the bomb behind. In the next scene, the bomb explodes, killing dozens. It's a deeply moving and sad scene, bringing humanity to people that many of us associate with religious extremism and terrorism. This does not change the fact that this woman is a terrorist, but it brings a humanity to her actions that most people would never contemplate. There's a message here, of course, that war is hell, but this story literally takes the war from the battlefields into the streets, affecting the innocent the most. Throughout the film, one has a deep sinking feeling that although the French eventually did leave Algeria, the story of the characters in this film will not end well, and it does not. When the French military have killed the last remaining FLN leader, 2 of the officials turn to each other, shake hands, say that they'll see each other later, and leave. With their jobs done, these men have just finished their days at the office, albeit an office where there are explosions and people die. The Battle of Algiers would influence many future filmmakers, most notably Oliver Stone and Steven Soderbergh. Stone would lift some of the jump-cutting techniques used here and put them into JFK, and there are scenes in Soderbergh's Traffic that are practically dedicated to the Battle of Algiers. It's a gem, and highly recommended to anybody. The parallels with the climate of today's international politics and religious extremism are extraordinary, if not eerily similar. It's remarkable how much hasn't changed in the world in the last 50 years. That's all I have to say about the Battle of Algiers. Tune in next week when we discuss the 1942 comedy To Be or Not to Be, directed by Ernst Lubitsch. In the meantime, you can email me questions or comments at 1001moviespodcast@gmail.com and follow me on Twitter at 1001moviespc. Until next time, happy viewing.